What is the purpose of statues? Statues have been around us in every age. Monuments to the people of the present and past. They stand as representations of the values of the people they were made of, and stand to glorify them. They stand to represent and appease gods and leaders. They are a way to show gratitude. Most importantly, they are used to send a message. Positive, negative, or out of date, it is the universal purpose of monuments to people around the globe. For as long as statues have been around, this is what they have represented. They have shown the ideals of people. What they have not represented, however, is historical record. They do not give us any insight into how things happened or why things happened. But they do give us an insight into the thoughts of people at the time, into the people that they worshipped, into the gods that they worshipped, into the people who led them, and into the opinions of people that these statues were made of. As such, when we look at statues like the one of General E. Lee, we must consider why it was constructed. Erected in 1890, 20 years after his death and defeat, why was this statue put up? The statue wasn't a monument to a great man. It was put up as a means to send a message to the black population of America, and a clearly racist one at that. While there is a statue of a black man 2 miles down the road from Ely's, it is important to remember that the reason that this statue was built is because of the artist Kehinde Wiley's feelings towards how the other statues around Virginia made him feel extremely uncomfortable. Truly encompasses what statues are for. They are to show meaning, they are to send messages, and the messages that were sent through these statues were stark contrast, but one doesn't have a place in modern society. Moving closer to England, our home, Edward Colson was a slaver, and used the profits from his business to help his community grow. While his business practices were deplorable, the people of Bristol and London were grateful for his charity, and named various sites around the cities after him. His statue, however, was constructed in 1895, over 100 years after his death, which begs the question, why was it erected? Perhaps it had something to do with the ongoing civil rights battle of the time, similar to the Robert Lee statue in the United States. These statues were put up to repress the black population of both places, maybe not truly in the means of physically doing something, but by putting out a message that they were not welcome in some way, that what had been done in the past was still relevant in that time. And while these ideas that the statues were put up because these people were great men would have been valid if they had been put up during the time they were alive or shortly after their death, the world at the time that these statues were put up was a highly racist charged one. And while black people were no longer slaves, they were still really regarded by society as somehow lesser. So why were these statues taken down? Well, simply they represented people with deplorable ideals in the modern day regarding race, and had frankly been up for longer than they were welcome. They represented racist ideals, and were torn down by the people whose were targeted by these messages. But it is important to remember that by taking them down, we are not somehow rewriting the past. As historians, we have a duty to present the facts as we know them, to be as accurate as possible with the tools available. This means that when new information comes up, we are obligated to present it. And while revisionism is good for academic purposes, using it to fit modern agendas is dangerous, as we have seen with certain politicians who have attempted to rewrite history, maybe not as ancient as this in terms of how long ago it happened, but we are still seeing these ideas transcend today. When we look at Nazi Germany or fascist Italy, a genuine attempt to change public record was had. Here, we are simply creating more history by saying that we no longer are chained by these racist ideals. And it should be embraced that these statues are taken down and put in more appropriate locations like museums, since they are no longer what we have at the core of our ideals. In the long and short, yes, we are rewriting history. We are rewriting it all the time. And that is the point of the historic profession. We present the newest and most accurate information we can. We are not presenting lies and not committing thought crimes. We do not have time machines to go back and physically change history. Perhaps rewriting has too many sci-fi connotations for people to see beyond. Maybe retelling or restoring is more accurate in what we're doing. But in all, it is key to remember that the purpose of statues is not to keep a record. It is to present and glorify not only people, but the ideas that they hold. If we kept up every single statue, we wouldn't have any place in society to glorify people who deserve to be. And it is also important to remember that you may have a statue put up of yourself now, but in 30 years' time, your ideals may not be what humanity regards as being right. And that is exactly what these people have found. Their ideals are no longer held dear to society, so they have been taken away.